Hey, good morning. Yes, we did. We made it the end of the week, right? So today is Friday, October 3rd. So what are we going to talk about today? Kind of like some oxymoron. It's when somebody tells you one thing and it means something totally different. Stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Friday, October 3rd of 2025. So what the hell is all this oxymoron crapola we're supposed to be staying tuned for? It's things that I've seen over time. Things that make you go, And if you haven't seen them, then you will if you stay in this business very long. And the first thing is when a customer comes in and says, Eric, my mower needs to get fixed, but there's no hurry. What that means in the English transition to farm and small engine repair is I want it yesterday. Because it never fails. I'll pick it up and they're not in a hurry and I'll get it in the line and I'll get a call that night or first thing in the morning wanting to know if it's done yet. Well, what happened to there's no hurry on it? Well, it's because I didn't understand the lingo for small engine repair, which means no hurry equates to I gotta have it yesterday. And if you haven't seen it, you will see it. It happens all the time. And it's the ones that don't say I'm in a hurry for it that usually are more patient and are willing to wait for it. So if you get a customer that says, don't worry about no big hurry, that's a cue right there, right off the bat, that says that customer is going to give you a call by the end of the day, if not first thing in the morning, and want to know if you got it all repaired and ready to roll. Yes. What's another one? Another one is, I want it fixed right. And then the last part of it is, but I don't want the budget over this amount. Well, wait a minute. I thought you said you wanted it fixed right and everything else, and now you're putting a price tag on it? And one of the things that I've learned over time, especially with new customers, I think I said this yesterday, was that the biggest problem I have with new customers is the fear of what the bill will be. And it's kind of a breath of fresh air for my customers, especially the new ones, to find out that I'm going to get a hold of them if it gets anywhere near where I term as expensive. And my terminology for expensive is a lot lower than most of my customers. Because if I'm on the fence and I call them and ask them, what do you want to do? They will usually tell me to go ahead. Because what they were thinking it was going to cost and what you're telling them that it's going to cost are two different extremes. Usually ours is a lot lower than what the customer's expectation has been about having to get their machine fixed. And you got to look at that too, because that holds a lot of people back from bringing their machines to you because they've had a taste of somebody else that, I've told this before in other videos. There was a shop locally that had billed a customer for a new battery. And that's okay. I mean, that happens, right? And a service and so forth. Well, what they didn't know was my customer, after that, had marked his battery. Yeah. So what they did was they polished it all up and cleaned it all up, but they didn't replace the battery. They just didn't do anything with the battery. But they billed him for a new battery. And, I keep harping on it, but the best thing you can do with your customer is be honest. The worst thing you can be with your customer is dishonest. Because even the smallest dishonesty can lead to more problems. Because if you don't have the trust between you and your customer, then what is there? And I have, over the years, I've seen different shops that they seem to think that customers are like a steady supply. And it is what it is, and this is the way we're going to bill for it. And to do a simple service ends up costing a customer for oil change, transmission check and topped off, oil filter, air filter, spark plugs, and then have it be $500 to $600, and that is pushing it. I know that a lot of shops like to just prorate it. Instead of trying to keep track of the time that they have per machine, they just go ahead and this is what it normally costs for a service. So we're just going to shoot that across the board. And that means no matter what your mechanic does to that machine, it's a $500 bill in the end. And that's the magic number you're looking for. And I want to say that that's what happened with the shop, but they're saying they put a new battery in it. See, that's being very dishonest. And they lost a customer because of that. Had they just been honest about it and not put down they put a new battery in it, you can charge a little bit for putting it on trickle charge overnight, doing things to revive the battery so that it's good for another season. But don't ever tell a customer you put a new battery in it if you didn't put a new battery in it. A lot of customers aren't smart enough to mark their battery per se or know exactly what you did for repairs. And that's why some feel that they can get away with it. But then you're going to get those customers that know just enough to get them into trouble and they don't trust to start with, so they do things to see whether you're being honest. And that's one of the things that I've done from the get-go with this business has been totally honest with the customers. It is what it is, but at the end of the day, when it comes to the bill, is that something that I think is reasonable? And if it's not reasonable, then why is it not reasonable? And if it's on a project where it's something new and we're learning, I don't like to do it on the backs of my customers. And we've talked about that before, especially with you guys that are just getting into it. You can't charge $120 an hour if you have never fixed a weed eater, chainsaw, or a lawnmower. Maybe you've worked on your own over the years. Okay, but that doesn't give you the experience that an average shop would have with a mechanic. They've got hours, hundreds of hours, usually a week, dealing with this kind of stuff. So if it's a new project that we've never done and we run into issues and we come to find out there was an easier way than the way we did it, we've learned something from that. And that, to me, accounts for something. That means, had we done it the other way, we would have shaved off 2 hours for the customer. So if that means cutting those 2 hours out on the bill to make it where I think is reasonable, I do it. And a lot of people say, well, it is what it is. You got to bill for your time. You're not working for free. And I get that. And you as a shop owner, whether you're a one-man band or you have a crew of employees, at the end of the day, you need to stay in the blue. And the best way to stay in the blue is everybody on your team, or if you're Uno, is straight up honesty. That will keep your customers coming back. Don't fluff it. Don't make it bigger than what it is. It is what it is. And if you want to have longevity, that's the best thing. That's the best advice I can give you right now. And that is being honest with yourself and your customers. And that goes in anything you have in life. If whether it's with a spouse, kids, what have you, honesty. They can understand honesty, but they can't understand when you start adding to it or making it bigger than it actually was or is, right? Just think about how you'd want to be treated. That's the second part of it. Is I treat my customers the way I would hope to be treated. Not the way I've been treated in the past, but the way I would hope to be treated. And that is just being honest with me. You know, if I can understand the bill and what you did, and if you did run into problems, okay, I mean, that happens. But if I start seeing you fudge stuff on a bill and Claude crawls underneath the truck and says they never did this, they never did that. I mean, there's still dust on the parts that they said they replaced. That's not good business. You know, that's a dealership or a shop just padding, trying to make up and get as much income as possible. And when you look at these guys, and I know you're going to run into them, is that money is the almighty driving force. If they aren't making money hands over fist, then they're not happy. And I'll be honest with you, I've got customers that feel that what the bill is reflects how good a mechanic you are. And what am I saying? I got a friend that his side-by-side, that he'll take it back to the dealership and have them do it and give him a $400 or $500 bill, then have it come to our shop, do an oil change on it, fuel filter, and check the air filter out the door. And that's what exactly they did. But we don't charge as much. And he feels that with not charging as much, then we're not doing the level that they're doing. They're billing for the same amount of time, but they're just a lot higher per hour. And this guy equates it to the quality of work. The higher the number, the better the mechanic is. And that isn't always true. You got to be careful there too. And a lot of shops that do that can see a mark coming a mile away of, okay, we can do X, Y, and Z with this. We can go overboard and the guy is going to be happy and ecstatic and pay his bill with no problem. You know, only if in life you had 100 of those customers coming to your door every day. What are the ones that you can think of? Put them in the comments of the oxymoron where they say one thing, but they mean something totally different. You know, if you're in this business, and it doesn't matter whether it's small engine, automobile, what have you, you're going to run into those things of where you're going to start, your ear perks up when someone says, I'm in no big hurry for it. And you look at Claude and say, he wants it yesterday. Now, for you guys that, I did see your comment on your post, and I so much appreciate every comment that's put there. But the one thing that caught my eye was, you're telling me you're third generation, it pays the bills, and you kind of basically hate it. My question is, why are you doing it? You don't think you can go work in the private sector for someone else and not have the headaches and get just as much of a paycheck? See, now if you're a business owner, and this is where it kind of gets hard. I mean, I was a dairy farmer early on, and we're pretty independent cusses, you know, and we already know in our heads of what is the right way to do something, right, to accomplish it. And we're not afraid of work. Most business owners are not afraid of work. And what ends up happening is, if you're going to a job and let's say this is your first week there, it's going to be hard for you to bite your tongue. It really is, because you've been so independent and doing your own thing that now you're working for somebody else and you have to be quiet and listen to how they want it done. Not how you want it done, how they want it done. And you can still go above and beyond, which most people I ever worked with do and did. You know, that were already self-employed at one point in time before coming to work for a certain company. And if you get the right company, they're looking for leaders, independent people that think on the fly. And you'll be the first one going up through the ranks. I think that if doing automobile mechanical work is not your bag, stop doing it and find something else. You know, that's one thing when I was dairy farmer when the kids were young. You know, as they started to get older, I said, look, dairy farming is something that your mother and I wanted to raise you kids with. But it's not something that we want you to be part of unless it's something that you enjoy. And neither one of them ended up going into the dairy or the beef industry. My son worked for other farmers for a while, but being a farmer is a lot of work, especially if you're milking cows and having to feed twice a day, 3 times a day. But what I can tell you is life is too short to get hung up on hating your job with a passion and feeling like you have to do it because you're third generation. No, you don't. Your dad and your grandfather, by any means, not that I know him that well, but I know for me to my son is you need to do whatever you enjoy doing. Don't do it because dad did it or grandpa did it. Do it because you enjoy doing it. And if you enjoy doing it, that's one thing. But if you're going to work every day and you hate it, my suggestion is go to work for another company and get away from doing mechanical stuff. You don't have to take a hiatus from it. But most people, when they're in that situation, are afraid of taking that chance of moving on. And what I've found with most people is change happens only when it hurts more to stay where you're at than it is to go to something better. And I can tell you one thing in life that I've found over when we talk about change, when things have changed in my life, they didn't always seem like it was for the best. But looking back, it always made me a better person and it made my life easier. What do you guys think? The video is not going to be that long today, so leave in the comments what your thoughts are, and we'll catch you here maybe over the weekend. I'm not quite sure yet. I got hay to put in today and tomorrow. We're doing rat bales. So on that note, you guys have a great Friday, and we'll catch you here bright and early Monday morning for another edition of the weekday. Again, thanks so much for supporting the channel and watching the videos. You know, hopefully you guys are getting back as much as you're giving to me. You guys give me a lot. And Jason and Amos and Ed, you guys have been kind of the biggest supporters of me. Even when my videos haven't been that great, you guys seem to hang tight. So on that note, enjoy your Friday.